Good morning, Gabriela.
Good morning, Lori. How are you?
I am good. We've been out of the office, so we had our big convention. We're a union.
Yes, yes.
And so
We
if
met
you
right at the, yeah,
yes,
okay.
at the lobby day. So
Yes.
um anyway, it's as you can imagine, you've been to these things before. They're very exhausting and time consuming. So we closed the office on Friday just because everybody's so thrashed from the long
Yeah, you need
hours.
that. You need that, right?
Yeah, so I'm so
Um,
delighted that you're here with us, and everybody should be coming in. We've got small numbers for the webinar today, but
okay,
we're
well,
recording it, and so it'll be available to our members. Will be pushing it out digitally to people. We had 200 people at our little over 200 people at our convention, and
wow.
there
They're
are
all
some of our,
tired.
yeah, they're tired too. Exactly. And
Yeah.
so I think that that's impacting attendance.
Okay.
So
Well, you know, hopefully this information they'll tell somebody else about it, right? That's the goal.
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
what I'm going to do, I just talked to our president. First of all, I want to do multiple share on here so that you can share your screen when
Oh,
the
great.
time comes.
Okay.
So I have Representative Fitzgibbon on first.
No problem.
And it's really just because he's a seated elected official. Yeah. And so
I totally get it.
he's going to go first. And because our numbers are so small, I mean, I think we have 30 that registered. In our experience, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
not everybody shows up. So we're going to have plenty of time for questions. It'll be a small group. So,
Okay.
if Representative Fitzgibbon goes a little long, everyone will get their time. But you're
Okay.
going on after him. I have you
Okay.
next. Anyway, great.
Great.
I really
Okay.
like the neckline of what you're wearing, and it looks like it's suede, is it? Is it
There is a
suede?
feel of suede, of
It's
velvet, of
yeah,
something.
velvety. It's very
Yeah.
pretty.
Well, I got it because this is my favorite color. I don't know if you can see my
Yeah, I
earrings.
can
It's a
see
little
your
bit of
earrings.
that.
Are they coral?
Um, yeah, they're not, I don't know. These are Native American.
They're
We were traveling through the Southwest this summer or this spring, and we stopped at this place that had like all kinds of beautiful Native American jewelry. And
mm,
um, my husband bought these for me, so it was
they're
exciting.
beautiful. Yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah.
coral color.
Yeah, and I love this color, and this is like been sitting in my drawer, right? Because we didn't need it, and but it's very thin, so it's just enough to kind of keep me,
Yeah.
give me a little bit of warmth, but not too
So
much.
it looks like it's more of a brick red. Is that how you
Yeah.
describe it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I
because
would
it's
agree
not,
with you.
it's more like a brick. It's a muted red.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It goes well with gray and with black.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the tip on that. I want to make
Yeah,
blue jeans, so
there you go. That too,
um,
right? With some boots, be cute.
totally. Listen to you,
One of the
fashionista.
one of the things I've enjoyed um, doing is shopping in my own closet. But I did buy something this weekend when I
Oh
was
yeah.
in Wenatchee. I did. So I bought a jumpsuit. And then after wearing it over the weekend, I thought, now I remember why jumpsuits aren't fun. Because every time you go to the restroom, you have to undress,
You
basically.
do basically. I was at the town hall for some event, and this woman comes out. I was walking in, she's coming out. She had a jumpsuit, and her jumpsuit was little buttons. And it was
Oh,
just she was just so annoyed with herself because I have two, but they zipper. And so then you so much, but hers were like every little button. And I was like,
no.
you gotta know what you're doing.
This one's cute. It's more of a summer one. It has slits up the side and it's wide legged.
Oh,
And
nice.
the back is just ties with in a bow. So it's like an open back sort of.
Cute.
So yeah.
Cute. It was perfect couple of days, huh? With the weather. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I layered it because in Wenatchee, believe it or not, it was, well, actually a lot like today. It
Yeah.
was cold, like 40 in the morning. And then in the sun, it was pretty warm, but it was
Yeah.
like 70, 71.
Yeah.
But I wore it one evening. We went to see Beetlejuice, and so I
Oh,
wore that
fun.
layered. Yeah, I wore it layered again, mistake, because then I take off the Levi jacket, take off the scarf, undo the thing. It's just quite a
Don't drink any water
production.
while you're wearing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. It's a
Exactly.
pain. Such a pain. All right.
Yeah. Ah.
Let's see.
So do we know how things are going with the campaign?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of preparing my
Oh no, why
my
don't you
present.
do that since
No, no.
they're going to be jumping in here in a minute. I have
Okay.
something I need to do anyway. I'm just
Oh,
going to go
okay.
on mute.
Okay.
So just so you know, when I'll greet the representative when he comes in. But if we have a low turnout, as I'm going to explain to the others, it really, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to push this out digitally.
Sounds great. Okay.
Good morning, President Olivers. Good morning,
Morning, Lori.
Executive Board Member Betty Ray. It's good to see you.
Morning, Betty Ray. Good morning, Gabriella.
Good
She's
morning.
one of our presenters. She and I had the privilege of sitting together at a lobbying of, it was a meeting of the lobbyists for the unions, and that's where I saw Gabriella present. And so that's when I asked her if she would do this webinar with us. So I'm gonna go off audio for a minute. So Claire, maybe you could, you've got your name there. I don't know if the other two, I can introduce you when they come in, Claire, so you know who they are. You know Representative Fitzgibbon. You've met with him
Right.
before.
Right. And Libby Watson's the other speaker.
Yes, and Libby, she had arranged for another volunteer to do the work, but Libby is the person that we gave the endorsement check to at the COPE conference. So you probably don't remember her, but she's younger, has a creative look. She's south of 40. So, right? Is that a good
Just a
description?
kid.
She's a kid. Yeah.
He's a kid.
Well, comparatively, she is.
Gabriella, how's the campaign going?
It's going well. You know, we're kind of the smallest of all, well, I guess not. I guess the 2666 or whatever that one is kind of the smallest, but of the big three ones, we're the smallest, both in staff and money. It's been tough to do fundraising for this particular one, but we're also the one that's doing best in polling. And that is the once people understand what's at stake for childcare and education, people are like, well, I don't want that, you know. One of the advantages that we have is, and I'll talk about this during my presentation, is that there's the PID, I should write this down because I don't always remember. It's the financial impact So the ballot will have a description of what the impact is financially, the financial impact disclosure. And that, once we tested that, I know that the numbers looked really well. Although we're feeling good about it, we're also really want to make sure that people really vote no and not sort of disregard it and not, we want to get the word out because we don't want childcare and education to be attacked again. So if we don't win big, they will see that as a weakness, right? So we want to kind of win big. So yeah, it's going well. I mean, there's just a lot of requests for presentations. We have hired 4 organizers across the state, which is really great, to do phone banking and recruit volunteers and all that good stuff. I'm going to step away for a minute. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Morning, Colleen. You know, your camera is always adjusted so that we only see your eyes. That's better. You're muted too, by the way.
My cold makes it hard to talk.
Oh, okay. I won't jabber at you then.
Claire, I'm going to shoot you a message in chat. Good morning.
Gorgeous weather still.
I
Morning,
know.
Jean.
I walked into work this morning.
Oh,
Beautiful.
you get to walk into work. Wow. Mm.
I'm only like a mile and a half, so it's not a big deal. But I don't mind walking in this weather. It's when it's really hot that you'd never know I was raised in Southern California. I just wilt when it comes to the hot weather now.
Likewise.
So you caught a cold, Colleen. I hope you didn't get it from me and my husband. This silly thing has been lingering with us for 3 weeks now. We just can't seem to get rid of it. Lots of throat lozenges, lots of Dayquil.
I was told it's allergies.
That's not what we got.
And then we
It's
had to change your allergy medication constantly. It hasn't helped. Everyone I know has this runny nose, runny eyes, cough up a bunch of stuff. It's like a cold, but it's not consistent. Makes you know something's different about it. Anyway, it's good. We do have good air quality, so I think
yeah. We did it in Wenatchee too, which is really great. I was telling Gabriella that we were at our convention, and so I'm sure a lot of people are tired. Hi, Christine.
Mhm.
Hello.
Christine.
What else is here?
Hey. I'm really pleased that we're doing this. I have so much stuff coming through my mailbox on these initiatives, and all of them just leave you thoroughly confused. So I'm looking forward to this presentation today. Thank you for doing it.
You are welcome.
Usually when in the voting season, I always reference what it is that RPEC is advocating, who they're recommending, what candidates they support. I also look at my union to see who they're supporting. These things are really helpful.
They are.
Yeah, it really is.
And it does get overwhelming. That's for sure. We all get tons of this. This is the year for that, right? Where you get tons of information, and it can be very confusing. But our stance on this is we want to provide as much information as possible so that people are informed. It's a personal decision, but our board did take action, and so this is an opportunity to learn from experts like Gabriella. We're waiting for a few more folks to come in.
How many people are we expecting, Lori?
We had a count of 30. And so as I was sharing with Gabriella, and I will share with all of you, I'm fine with our numbers being a little small. It'll give those of you who are joining us this morning an opportunity to ask questions. It will give our three presenters a little more time if they wish to go over the time that we had in our, very loose agenda. But the benefit here is once this is recorded, this will be going out to all of our members. I will also include reference to this in the newsletter, which we're on deadline for right now. And so the link will be available in the newsletter so that if people are interested in educating themselves, this issue of our newsletter also includes our endorsement list. So it's designed to help guide decision making for those who value RPEC's rigorous PAC endorsement and contribution process. But I think, Claire, it's almost 10 o'clock now. We're waiting for our last representative to join us. I don't see that Libby's here. Libby, are you here? There's a 360 number. Representative Fitzgibbon?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. We're so delighted that you're here. We have you leading off. We're
Okay.
going to be starting in just a moment. I have provided screen share, so if there's anything that you wish to share, you're welcome to do so. And I don't know if you were on when you may have stepped away, but our numbers are somewhere between 20 and 30 this morning. And so there'll be, if you need to take a little more time, you certainly will have it since we have a smaller number of retirees who are joining us for the webinar.
Great, thank you.
I think we're just waiting for Libby. She's in the third position. So it's 10 o'clock right now, Claire, on my watch. Do you want to give it another minute or two?
Maybe a minute. There's always a certain number of people that log in at 10, which takes a little bit.
Yes. I had a chance to chat with Gabriella. We just got back from our convention in Wenatchee. And so many of the people who are joining us this morning were with us, and I'm sure they're tired. It's always an important meeting of our union, but it is a time commitment. And so I hope that our convention last week won't impact our attendance this morning. But it may, and it doesn't matter if it does, because this link will be going out and we'll be sharing it, I'm going to say aggressively, consistently over the next few weeks so that our members have access to this good information. Okay, maybe one more minute, Claire, and then you can get going.
Sure.
Here's Libby. Perfect.
Coming in.
Yep, Libby's coming in right now. Perfect. Do you want to get us started, Claire?
We seem to have stabilized a number of attendees. Good morning. I'm Claire Olivers, President of the Retired Public Employees Council of Washington. And welcome to our webinar on 3 of the initiatives on the ballot this year. Representative Fitzgibbon has agreed to speak for the No campaign on Initiative 2117. Gabriella Quintana has agreed to speak for the No campaign on Initiative 2109, and Libby Watson for the No campaign on 2124. And I just want to note that pretty much everything that that our members want from the legislature requires the expenditure of some funds, and initiatives, two of these initiatives would carve substantial holes in the revenue streams for the state. And therefore, we feel very much aligned with the no campaigns. And the third one would end the first in the nation, or probably end the first in the nation, long-term care program, which some of our younger members are eligible for as well. And with that, I think I will hand this off to Representative Fitzgibbon.
Great, thank you, Claire and Lori, and thank you all to all the RPEC members who have taken the time out to hear from us this morning about these harmful initiatives. I am best acquainted with RPEC through my work as a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the Select Committee on Pension Policy, which I've chaired in the past. So I know your organization and your work advocating for retired public employees well, and so we'll just start by thanking you all for your public service. I'm here to talk about Initiative 2117. Initiative 2117 is an initiative that would eliminate Washington's core climate change fighting policy, the Climate Commitment Act. In doing so, it would take billions of dollars out of the investments that we're making to make transportation safer in our state, to replace our ferry system, to improve air quality, to fight wildfires, and to transition our state to be a clean, to recover salmon habitat. Those are many of the things that the Climate Commitment Act, which is empowers and enables. The Climate Commitment Act is a cap on Washington's pollution. It requires the 100 largest polluters in Washington state to pay the state for the privilege of emitting pollution to our air, and it lowers that cap over time until the cap gets to 0 in 2050. So our goal here is to require the largest polluters in the state to reduce their pollution over time, and to start to find the most cost-effective ways to reduce that pollution. And in doing so, we bring in the resources to invest in things like transportation safety, wildfire prevention, and salmon recovery. The initiative would eliminate the cap and would also eliminate the billions of dollars of investments that we're making in transportation and salmon recovery and wildfire prevention and the clean energy transition. So it would allow unlimited pollution in Washington state. Without the Climate Commitment Act, there's no cap on pollution that can be emitted within our borders. So once that cap is gone, unlimited pollution is allowed. And it would eliminate the investments that we would be in a huge crisis in terms of how do we fund, for example, the new Washington state ferries that we need to build? How do we build recover the salmon habitat that we need to keep, many of our runs of salmon in Washington from going extinct? So that's very concerning. The thing that the proponents of this initiative, the people who want you to vote yes, will say is that voting yes on this initiative will lower gas prices. And we don't believe that that's true. It is true that the Climate Commitment Act, which would be repealed by this initiative, requires the largest emitters in our state, including our oil refineries, to pay for the cost of that pollution. The oil refiners may be passing along some of those costs to Washingtonians. We're not sure exactly how much, because we don't really get to see how they set their prices. We do know that Washington has always, unfortunately, had higher gas prices than the rest of the country. What the Yes campaign wants you to believe is that by lowering costs for oil companies, the oil companies are going to pass along all of those savings to you every time you fill up your gas tank. And the initiative doesn't guarantee that. And I'm personally skeptical of that, having dealt with these oil companies on a lot of fronts. I don't think there's any guarantee that they're going to pass along any savings that they get, whether it's from this initiative or from other tax cuts that they're asking for, that they're going to pass along those savings to Washingtonians or to drivers at the pump. If they had wanted to guarantee that, there are ways they could have. They could have lowered the state gas tax, which is paid directly by drivers when you fill up your tank. But instead, they went after this program, which is not levied on drivers individually, but is levied on oil refiners, and expects you to believe that the oil refiners are charitable enough that they're going to lower the cost of gas once their costs of paying for their pollution are eliminated. So we don't believe that that's accurate. We think what is guaranteed, however, is that billions of dollars of transportation funding, of wildfire prevention funding, of salmon recovery, of clean energy jobs will go away. As you heard from Claire in the opening, any initiative that blows a big hole in the state budget is going to have an impact on retirees, even though we're not directly spending Climate Commitment Act resources on things like the Medicare premium subsidy or the pension plans that the retirees are members of, whether that's the restoring the COLA for plans 1 or providing other benefit enhancements. We're not directly spending those resources there, but if you take billions of dollars out of the state budget, then everything is stretched more thin, and it becomes much harder for us to fund things like restoring the COLA for plans 1 or increasing the Medicare premium subsidy. So that's a quick overview of why 2117 is the direct impacts on the state budget. Of course, everybody is impacted by the harms of air pollution. Wildfire smoke in particular has been the single biggest contributor to the air quality problems in Washington State in recent years. And we know the people that are most at risk of harm from air pollution are babies, folks with respiratory health conditions like asthma, and seniors. And so, to the degree that that retirees are experiencing the harms of air pollution, particularly wildfire smoke, that is one more way in which Initiative 2117 would impact all of us, but will have a particular impact on retirees and seniors. So I will pause there, turn it back over to Claire to move to the next initiative, and I'll be here for your questions.
I guess I have to unmute myself. We'll have question and answers after the initial presentations by the 3 speakers. And so next I would like to introduce Gabriela Quintana, who will speak on Initiative 2109.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I want to share my screen just to show you a couple of things. Thanks for having me, and thanks for really putting this on, because I know that the word will get out, and these initiatives are very harmful, as Representative Fitzgibbon mentioned. So I work for the 2109 campaign. I'm on loan from, I work at the Economic Opportunity Institute, a public policy advocacy organization working on these particular issues, and I'm on loan to the campaign working with the coalition. 2109, as a little backdrop, it's the capital gains tax. It is aims to repeal the cap gains tax that the state legislature passed in 2021. In 2021, the state legislature also passed the Fair Start for Kids Act. It was a huge investment by the legislature to invest in creating, expanding access to childcare slots, capping copays, and providing resources to childcare providers. This really went much bigger than, well, it covered a lot of families. A lot of families depend on the subsidies to be able to go to work. The first year that the cap gains passed, that was in effect, it raised $889 million in 2023. It decreased slightly from there. And the way that it works is that it taxes 7% on huge Wall Street profits larger than 250,000, and about only 4,000 people pay into this. These are the wealthiest 4,000 individuals in our state. These are the folks that have airplanes and yachts or can afford those. And it does exempt all the retirement plans, accounts, real estate farms, family homes, etc. And the cap gains bill was a really great thing because Washington has an upside down tax code. And before this passed, we were the very bottom of a tax system. And the cap gains tax really kind of made us second worse. So we're moving up slightly. The initiative is put on by this guy named Brian Haywood, a millionaire himself from California, has paid out over $6 million to put these on the ballot and protect his 4,000 billionaires that he is friends with. The campaign itself is doing really well. We have, we want to oppose this. We don't want this to be repealed. Although we're the smallest campaign, we're also doing well in polling because of a something that will be on your ballot called the PID, which is the impact disclosure, what the impact will be on the state budget. And it clearly says on there what it will impact. In this case, is going to be childcare. It will be K through 12, and it will mean cuts to school projects that it also funds. So Tyee High School down here in Federal Way, they're rebuilding their new high school, and if that money goes away, they're going to have to rethink that. This is a campaign that is supported widely by many of these organizations. And this is just a bit of information. I wanted to go back to this a little bit about the impact. I mentioned already subsidies for kids, childcare, K through 12 education, and the constructions. So we stand to lose, kids stand to lose, and billionaires stand to win on this one. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Gabriela. And speaking for the No on Initiative 2124 campaign, Libby Watson.
Hi there. Thank you, Claire. My name's Libby Watson, as was said, and I'm the campaign manager for No on 2124. Really nice to see you all. Thanks for giving some time and energy to hear from us today. So I-2124, similarly to the other initiatives that we're hearing about right now, also put on the ballot by Brian Haywood, being a millionaire. And it's no coincidence that if passed, 2124 would only help the mega rich and private insurance industry. We encourage folks to vote no on 2124 because it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Unlike the other initiatives on our November ballots, 2124 is sort of uniquely misleading because it is not an outright repeal of the state's long-term care program. It is made to sound innocent and as if it's just providing an option for people, when really it takes our choices away. And all the fiscal analysis that's gone into 2124 shows that it would very quickly bankrupt and eliminate the program. So it would take away benefits that people have already started paying into. And that's almost 4 million people in Washington, where if this passes, they lose their benefit and they can't get the money back that they've already begun putting into the program. 2124 also hurts women the most because it will cause more people to leave their jobs to provide unpaid care for loved ones with disabilities or who are sick or aging by shutting down Washington's long-term care program. As things are, women are 73% more likely to permanently leave jobs and 5 times more likely to work part-time due to caregiving demands. And now there are over 800,000 people in Washington, mostly women, who are currently acting as unpaid family caregivers to provide long-term care. And 2124 will make this crisis even worse. It also increases costs and debt for working families because health insurance and Medicare do not pay for long-term care, which is a really common misconception, especially among younger people. We are less likely to think about long-term care and even to get basic healthcare coverage. So most Washingtonians can also not afford private long-term care insurance or to pay out of pocket for care when they need it. The vast majority of people have less than $5,000 in savings, and I-2124 would take away the only coverage for most Washingtonians, putting us into more debt. And like I said, 2124 would only benefit big insurance companies. It would not benefit working people like you might hear our opposition say. It will force everyone back onto the expensive insurance market, which is broken as it stands, which is why the state legislature did pass this First in the Nation program in 2019 and has continued to improve on it. Private insurance can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000 a year for a healthy couple, and they have to pay that even after retiring, unlike Washington's long-term care program, which you only pay into while you are working. And private insurance companies routinely jack up premiums by up to 300% without warning. And they charge women more, up to 70% higher premiums. And the private insurance industry also delays and denies claims. In addition to all those harmful things, even if someone can afford private insurance, if you have a pre-existing condition, which is about half of people in Washington have what the private insurance industry considers a pre-existing condition, you simply cannot qualify, again, even if you could afford it. So 2124 would kill long-term care coverage, not fix it. Lawmakers have strengthened our state's long-term care program by covering near retirees and part-time workers and making the benefits portable. So even if you move out of state after paying into the program, you can still use the benefit. So instead of continuing to strengthen this lifeline, if this initiative were to pass, it would eliminate our chances of continuing to improve on it and serve as a model for the country. And Lori said that this group would want to hear about ways to get involved, which we'd love. We have over 150 organizational endorsers now, in addition to 200 individual healthcare providers who have also signed on to oppose 2124. And those are the groups that are the closest to the long-term care crisis and know how important it is that we continue to improve on and maintain this program. So you can help make sure it doesn't pass by joining us for phone banking. We're phone banking every Monday and Thursday and going to add in Sundays soon. We also, along with the other Vote No campaigns, have 2 big canvassing events with the State Labor Council in October and November. And then a big need that we still have is for more letters to the editor and people willing to sign those, especially in more rural parts of the state. We have over 20 letters to the editor already out in all corners of Washington, but we would love more folks to help in that way as well. And I am happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Libby. Lori has agreed to facilitate the question and answer session, so take it away.
I'm looking for hands at this point. Martin. And
Thank
Martin,
you, Lori. Yes.
Introduce yourself and direct your question to one of our 3 guest speakers and the initiative so that people know.
Thank you. I'm Martin Rollins. I'm with Retired Public Employees Council. I'm in Chapter 2 in Thurston County, the secretary there. And thank you to all the presenters and RPEC for presenting this program. This question is for Libby, I believe, regarding the no on 2124. Thank you. And in regard to that, what do we tell the people when what's the percentage that's taken out of workers' paycheck? What does that amount to in terms of dollars that we could talk to people about?
Yeah, great question. It's 58 cents for every $100.
Okay,
Yeah, so a very modest payroll deduction.
thank you.
Other questions? While people are thinking of questions, I have one for Libby. Libby, I wondered, Claire mentioned this when he's kicked off the webinar today, and he talked about the fact that this initiative also impacts working seniors because, we have people who work through their 60s, we have people who work through their 70s, and we also have people who were in full-time employment and for a variety of reasons, usually because of a non-livable pension, they go back to work at least part-time. So I wondered if you could kind of address, you know, for the working senior, are they eligible for these benefits and how does that work exactly? Because I know the bill went through some different iterations, and so it might be helpful for people to know that, and that will impact potential RPEC members.
Yeah. So, I want to make sure I answer the different parts of that question. So you don't need to work full time to be eligible for the program. I believe it's 1,000 hours per year. Honestly, Rep Fitzgibbon might know that stat better than me, and I don't want to misquote a number, but I believe it's 1,000 hours a year that you have to work. So not just not just full-time workers are vesting into the program. The full vesting period is 10 years, but if you are near retirement, and you were born before, I want to say 1968, and you don't vest for the full 10, you can receive a partial benefit. So, and it's, age doesn't have a ton to do with when you can access the benefit or when you're paying into it. If you are working, and didn't already opt out, you are paying into the program, and then you can use the benefit at any age whenever a qualifying event happens and you become eligible. Did that answer your question, Lori?
I think so. That's helpful for our younger retirees. I think that maybe Matt's hand was next and then Christina. Oh, the other way? Okay, Christine, would you go next?
I thought of another question while Libby was speaking. This is Christine Laver. I live in Everett, Chapter 6. The question for Libby is, are you, if for the situation that Lori described where you might go back to work part-time, or if you're retired, if you're already paying for long-term care insurance, would you just be exempt?
No, as the policy stands, you would not be exempt unless you had already had that private long-term care insurance and were working 2 years ago when the opt-out period happened. Then you would have had to have opted out at that point in time, but that window's come and gone. So if you went back to work now, you would be paying into the program.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And my other question was for Gabriella and Joe to just mention how we could help with the campaigns.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's a great question. Sorry, Joe. I'm going to put in the chat the get involved part of our webpage where it has listed all the phone banking that we're doing. That's going to be like as much money as we have is right now is for phone banking. But the great thing is that you don't have to go anywhere. You could do it from the comfort of your own home. So it's beautiful. You'll get provided with a list. And so please, sign up and somebody will connect with you. And it's something you can do, you can, with a couple of hours, you can hit a couple of hundred of homes to encourage them to vote no on this.
That's great suggestion from Gabi. I know that the one of the best ways that we can make sure that we defeat these initiatives is by connecting with people on the phones. The only thing I would add to that is that I would encourage you to talk about these initiatives with people in your network. You may be more sort of politically active than some of the people that you know, whether that's just through your role as an active RPEC member. I find that all of us have people in our lives who pay less attention to politics than we do, and then maybe look to us as sources of information about things to which we may be paying close attention. And so I just would really encourage those, conversations with family and friends about these 3 initiatives and about the harms that they would do to retirees specifically, but also to our whole state. and then as well, one other way that we can often connect with folks, maybe that doesn't always feel as intrusive as sort of bringing up politics at the dinner table, which can sometimes be hard, is to share on social media your intention to vote no on these initiatives, and sometimes like maybe sharing an article or sharing an image is a way to help that post, whether on Facebook or whatever social media you use, if you use any. So I'm going to post a link to an editorial that the Everett Herald posted opposing Initiative 2117 last week that I just thought was a really excellent, persuasive article. I'll also post the Seattle Times editorial also opposing 2117, just in case you're thinking I'd love to post something on my Facebook, and this is this is just an easy thing you could post if that's something that speaks to you.
Thank you. Can you also, Representative, if you have a link like Gabriella and Libby on where people can go to volunteer, could you pop that in chat too?
I do. It'll give me just a second to find it, and I will add that to the chat.
And what we will do is we'll take those links and we'll put everything into a news flash again, so you have that, and we'll also try to carry that in the newsletter. So those are great suggestions about using social media effectively. We do have a percentage of our members that are active on social media, especially Facebook. Matt, you're going to go next, and then Claire.
Yes, Matt Goshong, LD 34. Representative Fitzgibbon is our representative. We've met a couple times, and I want to thank you for your work on the select committee and on climate issues. Really appreciate it. My question is, has there been any polling on the initiative that you're involved with?
So yeah, thank you, Matt. I can share it'll take me just one second to pull up the specifics of the poll. But yes, there was a poll by an Elway poll. Elway is one of our locally grown pollsters, by the Cascade PBS station about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, looks like, and I can put this in the chat too, that shows that all three campaigns have made significant progress in talking to voters about the harms of these initiatives. So I'm just going to try to find it showed 52% of people planning to vote no on 2109, the capital gains tax repeal. It showed 46% of people saying they would vote no on 2117, with only 30% saying that they would vote yes. So that's a 16-point lead. And it had 39% of people, let's see, it was a closer split on 2124. So the good news is that we've made a lot of progress in communicating to voters about these, specifically on 2117. Some of the early polls showed it leading. And our No campaign has been really aggressive about getting ads on TV and contacting voters at the doors and on the phones to talk about the harms of the initiative. So at least as of the most recent public poll, it shows Initiative 2117 trailing by 16 points. But of course, there's still a lot of time left, and so we're gonna work really, really hard to make sure that 46% is well above 50% in November.
Perfect. Claire, you had a question?
Oh, well, I guess I've really got more of a couple of statements for Representative Fitzgibbon. I would submit that, all of the overblown estimates of what the impact on fuel prices would be at the pump when the Climate Commitment Act was adopted, and of course in the current campaign to repeal it, have clearly been swamped over the last several years by other factors that cause much bigger fluctuations in the cost of fuel at the pump. And has the campaign done something to publicize or highlight this, that there's a lot more forces at play than just the taxes on the refineries?
Yeah, thank you, Claire. That's definitely a point that I I try to make. I didn't in this in my remarks earlier because I was trying to keep it short. But yes, the most expensive gas has ever been in Washington was in June of 2022. And that was before the Climate Commitment Act was in effect. The Climate Commitment Act took effect in January of 2023. Prices spiked in the summer of 2022 because Russia invaded Ukraine, right? Like the things that cause the greatest spikes in the price of gas tend to be like geopolitical events on the world stage, like conflict with Iran in the Persian Gulf, conflict with Venezuela, conflict with Russia. Those are the kinds of things that trigger these huge volatility in gas prices. We see volatility for other reasons too. There was, last in 2023 summer, there was a significant shutdown of the major pipeline that connects the refineries up and down the I-5 corridor, and that had a significant impact on the price of gas, particularly when you started to see a lot of these stories about why, what is this because of the Climate Commitment Act? Well, a lot of that started when this pipeline was closed. So there are many factors. Unfortunately, Washington has always had higher gas prices than the rest of the country. That's just a function of our kind of our geography. We're not as integrated with the fuel systems that are east of the Rocky Mountains. So Washington, Oregon, and California have always had relatively high gas prices. I think part of what our future holds is that, a future in which we're not as tied to this really expensive, really volatile commodity that, that every time there's conflict with Venezuela goes up in price, by giving people better choices, by giving people cleaner fuels that aren't based on fossil fuels, by giving people, the ability to choose transit or the ability to choose an electric car. That's how we free Washington from, being tied to this expensive commodity of gasoline. So we do talk about that. I will say for the most part, because the opposition's talking point is so misleading that they're counting on the generosity of the oil companies to pass along their savings. It's not really the thing we lead with. We lead with what are the harms to the state of eliminating this program. But we certainly do talk about how fuel prices are not in any way guaranteed to go down just because this pollution control program might go away.
Thank you. Gabriella, and then we'll go to Pam.
Thanks, Lori. I wanted to just piggyback on an earlier, the earlier question about how the campaign's doing. I wanted to point out that although the campaigns were getting pretty good polling, at least for 2109, and I hear now for 2117. I don't know about your Sleepy, but I think we can't let our guard down at all about these initiatives. And just because we have good numbers does not mean that they have a lot of money. So we don't know how they're going to come back at us. And we need to not only beat these, but we need to beat them hard, blow them out of the water to ensure that they don't come back and try to do that next time.
Thank you for those comments, Gabriella. Pam, do you want to ask your question?
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks. The largest polluters are, I don't know if you know, Joe, if you could elaborate on it. Is it more than oil refineries? Is that our, if you could, that would be helpful, I think. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So it's about 100 or so entities. And so that would include the oil refineries, of which there are 5 in Washington state. That would include our natural gas utilities, so Puget Sound Energy, Avista, Cascade Natural Gas, Northwest Natural Gas. It includes some electric utilities. Many of Washington's electric utilities have such clean power already that they're not covered. But Puget Sound Energy is covered, Avista is covered, Clark County PUD, for example. So a number of electric utilities, a lot of manufacturing plants. So in my district, there's the Newport Steel Mill in West Seattle. They're a covered entity. The Ash Grove Cement Plant in the SoDo neighborhood is a covered entity. There's a glass manufacturer also in SoDo that's a covered entity. Boeing uses a lot of natural gas in their production processes. They're a covered entity. Many pulp and paper mills, many food processors around the state. I'll say one of the things that we really took to heart when we were designing this law is to make sure we don't want to see manufacturers leaving the state, because if not every state has a program like this pricing pollution, we don't want, for example, a food processor from Eastern Washington to close up and move to Idaho, because then we still have the pollution, but we also lose the jobs, right? So we there's special treatment for manufacturers who are in this category of energy intense and trade exposed, so that we don't lose those manufacturing jobs. And that's why you're not seeing these we're not seeing the covered entities like advocate for this program or advocate for this initiative. They don't want to see the Climate Commitment Act repealed, because the other things the state could do to get them to lower their pollution like would actually be much more problematic for those jobs and those industries. So I think we've kind of struck a really good balance with the underlying program that the initiative would repeal. But the biggest, the number one biggest emitter that's covered under the program is BP, because they operate the state's biggest oil refinery up in Ferndale. And they oppose the initiative for the reason I just said. They think this program the initiative would repeal, so they oppose the initiative, is better than any alternative that we could come up with. And they know the state would come up with another alternative to reduce pollution if the initiative passed, and they prefer the law we have because they think it's market-based, it's successful, it's tried and true in other places.
I'm sorry, what was the name of the one you just were speaking about?
BP.
BP. Wow, thank you. Good to know. Thanks.
Okay. Martin?
I think Claire might have had his hand up first, but
That's okay. You can go first.
Thank you. Martin Rollins, Chapter 2, Thurston County. I just wanted to ask Joe if these other manufacturers that are in favor of the Climate Commitment Act are speaking up in favor of it or against the initiative.
To be honest, not all of them are speaking up against the initiative. We would love to have them all speaking up against the initiative with a unified voice. I am happy that none of them are speaking in favor of the initiative, right? We don't see the pulp and paper industry or the food processing industry or Boeing speaking up in favor of the initiative. But a couple of those entities, BP, Puget Sound Energy, Kaiser Aluminum, which operates an aluminum mill in the Spokane area that is a covered entity, have all endorsed the campaign and are speaking up in favor of why they support it. Microsoft and Amazon are not covered entities themselves, but they consume a lot of electricity, so they have relationships with the utilities that are. They are also speaking up, and so I would say Microsoft, Amazon, BP have been the loudest voices on the business side opposing the initiative. But some, including Kaiser Aluminum, have also been speaking up. But then there's been a lot who've just been quiet, which I think has been surprising to Brian Haywood and the Yes campaign, because they assumed that all the covered entities were going to jump in on their side. But that hasn't been what's happened.
Thank you. Okay, Claire?
Mine's more of a story for Libby. Many years ago, I saw a trend on one side of my family for a prevalence of Alzheimer's. And so I had a conversation with my doctor about, is this thing hereditary or not? And he made notes in my chart. And when my wife and I applied for long-term care many years ago, she was accepted and I was not, because there were notes in my file. So that's something for people to remember that's different about the private market and the state program.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that happened. And unfortunately, it is a really common story that a lot of people, even if they are able to afford it, are rejected by the private insurance industry. So another reason to vote no, to make sure that more people can qualify for the long-term care coverage that they need, because the state's program doesn't discriminate for any reason.
Wonderful. Thank you, Claire, for sharing that. Thanks, Libby. I think, are there any other questions? These have been excellent. So I think it would be beneficial for each of our guest speakers to review again ways that you can get involved. I did put into the chat the landing page where you can get involved through Defend Washington. So that's kind of an umbrella coalition. If you go there, there's links to get involved with these 3 initiatives, but it's much better to go directly to the initiatives, and we've got the links here. We will pass them on. But there's many ways to get involved, and as was articulated earlier, you don't have to go to a physical place. Although I will tell you that our union partners are convening, calling, they have calling centers and leafleting, and if you want to physically show up to get involved with any of these campaigns, there are opportunities to do that. But there's lots of ways that you can contribute. Representative Fitzgibbon talked about the importance of sharing on social media and engaging with your neighbors and with your friends. And he provided 2 articles that we will pass on that are in chat. And I know both Libby and Gabriella spoke about different ways that you can get involved with polling, or not polling, but I'm at a loss of what it's called. The phone centers.
Phone
You can do your own
banking.
phone banking. There you go. I don't know. Need more coffee. Phone banking. So maybe we could just, in our closing, each of you could talk a little bit more about that. So we started with Representative Fitzgibbon talking about the No campaign on Initiative 2117. So maybe you could start with a quick summary of how people can get involved, and then we'll move down to Gabriella and then close up with Libby.
Thanks, Lori. So I put in the chat a link to the volunteer page on the No on 2117 website. We are absolutely making a big push, particularly every weekend, for both doorbelling and phone banking, and we've found that that's really one of the things that all of that communication has told us is that most Washingtonians still don't really know about these initiatives. And that once presented with a little bit of information about the harms that they would do, we really can win over persuadable voters. And so we're finding that it's really effective, just because folks, they may have seen 1 or 2 ads on TV, but for the most part, most of our persuadable voters are still learning about this. So phone banking is really impactful, and if you have the ability to help out, then the link is in the chat, and hope you can join on any 1 or all 3 of these initiatives.
Thank you, Representative. So Gabriella, she's been our guest speaking about the No campaign on Initiative 2109. So do you want to do a quick how to get involved summary?
Yeah, thanks all for being here. Remember, 2109 would repeal a lot of funding for childcare slots and for small children, for schools construction. So vote no. And the way that you can get involved is through the link that I put up, and now I can't find it, of course. Phone banking is the way we're going to be doing, but a lot of these campaigns are also, it's hard not to, but we're all sometimes doing a little bit of this merging, and there's Defend Washington that's also holding some phone bankings for all the campaigns. I'm gonna put my email here for questions. We also have yard signs if you're in the Seattle area, the Bellingham area, Everett, Spokane. We can try to get those to if you email me. And I'm babbling, so just vote no and encourage others to vote no, but do phone banking. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gabriella. And then our final speaker was Libby. And Libby provided details on the No campaign for Initiative 2124. So Libby.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you again to all of you for being here and hearing from me. 2124 is about long-term care. So we are voting no so that we don't take away long-term care benefits from millions of Washingtonians. And I put the volunteer link in the chat. The best thing to do for us is phone banking as well. And like Rep Fitzgibbon said, yeah, a lot of voters are still undecided because they just haven't heard much. But so far, our conversations on the phone have been going really well, and people are very receptive and definitely leaning toward vote no if they go into it not knowing anything. Social media is always helpful too. Our website has the links to all of our social media accounts. I'm sure many of you might be aware already about the limitations Washington has on what we can put money behind on social media. You can't run political ads. So the more organic resharing and liking of social media posts does go a long way for our campaigns. And And then, yeah, talk to your friends and neighbors. I keep forgetting that we also have yard signs. So if you're interested in a yard sign, email me and we can make sure that you get one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming today. And, you know, in the fall RPEC newsletter that will be getting to your mailboxes very soon, if not today, you will find links to these campaigns for more information and to volunteer. And you will find our endorsement list. So look for those things. We're trying to get it in your hands ahead of when ballots come out and for the election. So and remember also that in the news flash this Friday, we'll have a link to the recording of this webinar for all of our members, so you can review it and you can inform your friends about how to find it and watch the whole thing. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for your attention to important political issues that don't usually get as much attention as they deserve. And let's go win some battles.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Gabriella. We really appreciate your excellent presentations today.
Great presentations. Thanks very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everybody.
Good information. Thank you.
Stay informed. Educate yourselves.
Mhm.
Okay.